Okay, so now we are recording. Thank you guys so much for joining. This training is going to give you an update if you haven't used Compliance Assist in a while, but also we've changed the structure in the planning module for what we're doing for the strategic plan. So even if you are, if you consider yourself sort of a OG user of Compliance Assist planning and you're very comfortable with putting things in, things are looking a little bit different this time. So today I'm going to go over what is new and different, talk about some changes that were made, and just do a review of how to navigate, since maybe a lot of you guys had not, used the system in a while, and we got used to ECM for a little while, so you may have forgotten all about Compliance Assist. So I'm going to reintroduce you to very basic how to log in, and then we'll talk specifically about strategic plan and unit plan. So I want this to be as useful to you as possible. I'm not really worried about being formal. It's just us. If you have a question, throw it into the chat and we can kind of answer questions as we go rather than holding them to the end. So use the chat as you need to, and I'll try to keep an eye out on what's going on as well. And also, I think Williette and Dr. Tobin and all of the VPs are in as well. So please feel free to chime in if there's something you need to add or something I've forgotten. We can all kind of discuss together. So first of all, let's talk about logging in. There are two ways that you can log in. First of all, you can go to SharePoint, all the way over at the right under links, down at the very bottom. You're going to see Compliance Assist Planning. This link here will carry you directly into the main page of the planning module. But of course, you can also enter, if you're at home, there is a link on the OC Tech website under Faculty Staff Access that you can use as well. So once you click and are brought into the planning module, you're automatically going to be taken to this dashboard, which is designated by this little home icon here. So this is just a quick overview of your plans, but your work really isn't going to be done here. Where the work will be done is this button here. This is where the plan items live. So remember to look for this little constellation kind of picture here. Once you click there, then at that point, you're going to start being able to see where your unit plan is. So of course, in the planning module of Compliance Assist, we use 5 or 6 different modules that are provided by the company Campus Lab and that are used for different areas or types of compliance. So the planning module, which you're in now, is where our strategic plan lives and has lived since 2012, I think. Actually, we may have even 2011-12 data in here as well. So the strategic plan is here, as well as Gen Ed and program student learning outcomes. So when you click on this little plans button here, this is where you get the opportunity to say, okay, this is what I want to look at, and you're going to start doing your work. Very easy to remember. Over here on the left is how you navigate. This is the navigation pane. Over on the right is where you view information. So the best thing to remember is to start at the top and work your way down to find whatever it is you want to see. So let's talk about where the strategic plan is and how to see it. So, of course, the first thing you're going to look at is the year. Our new strategic plan started this year. 2021 is the first year, and it will go on to 2023-24. So our previous strategic plans are here. You can see 2012 to 2017 is here. It's locked. That means you can't change anything, but you can certainly still view all of the information there. And then our 17 to 21 unit plan is still there that you can, update or change things if you need to. Once we get 2021 completely finished up and I've entered everything that we need to do, I will lock the previous strategic plan as well. But for right now, I'm still using it and looking at it, so that's why it doesn't say locked or archived next to it. So 21, 22, first of all, you got to make sure you're in the right year. The second drop down here is really showing us the structure of the strategic plan and where these different forms that we enter data, where they reside. So the top level is the strategic plan level. And you can see over here, it's revealed our mission and vision and our 2 college-wide goals for the 21 to 24 strategic plan. So the next level underneath are the outcomes that are directly related to our 2 goals. So in 21-22, there are 9 of them listed here, but in 22-23, there are 10 of them. But those statements are on this outcomes level. Then we get to unit plans. Now, if you are Dr. Tobin or one of the VPs, that they fill out a unit plan too. We didn't have that before in the previous strategic plans, but now they have the opportunity to do the same objective forms that we complete. So they have administrative unit plan objectives. So if you're not an administrator, you're not even going to see it, but I wanted to show for those VPs who are on. They would click here and then click on their division, and they'd be able to then enter their unit plan objectives. But for pretty much everybody else on the call, you are going to just fill out normal unit plans. So I've chosen 21-22 because everything that was over in ECM has been moved back into this system. So everything that you may have done over there, the unit plan objectives, as well as your budget requests, have been moved over. So I had a great team of 3 admins who worked from, I think, probably November through to January to get everything moved. There were around 900 unit plans, so they did so much great work to get everything over. And so now we can print reports and everything is visible and where it should be. So you click on 21-22, then you're going to say, okay, I want to see my unit plans. So now the only other step you need to do is to find yourself on the organizational chart over here on the left. So for me, I work in grants under academic affairs. So this is my unit plan for 21-22. So at this point, if there are items or things that may have changed, you can go in at any time and update or add information so you won't forget it later when it's due on September the 15th. You may want to kind of work along, or you may want to wait and do it all then. It's up to you, and you can kind of discuss with your supervisor what may work best, but they're here now for you to work in. So if you click the blue links here, you'll be able to view the forms. I'll click into one of mine as an example. And all of the fields, everything that was there has been moved over. So really, you've done your work. The first part of your work for 21-22 is here. Now in September, you will put in your results, which I'll sort of go over individual fields here in a minute. But for 21-22, everything's there. You go in, you change what you want. Always make sure to hit this blue done button at the bottom. Now you may be wondering, if you are an older user, well, it used to say save. Why does it say done now? During the last software update that Campus Labs made, they very kindly added an automatic save feature. There was a time when you may click in here and you start typing something in a field, and then your phone rings or a student knocks on the door and you talk to them, and you came back here to this form 20 minutes later and hit save, and poof, it was gone. Thankfully, it auto saves around every 10 seconds or something. So the time that you put something in, even if you leave it open here, you're not going to lose anything now, which is a great new feature. But then once you kind of finish, you click done, and it takes you back to where you were. Same thing with our budget requests. If you put in a budget request, it's here. So let's talk about adding new information, which is really sort of the key thing that we need to chat about. So there is going to be more than one option for unit plans. And you know, I mentioned earlier that in 21-22 we had 9 outcomes, and in 22-23 we have 10. Because of that, that means that the forms are slightly different. We've streamlined it. The VPs have worked with Dr. Tobin to make changes and to simplify everything as much as we can. Because of that, those 2 years look slightly different. So there are 2 separate forms for those 2 years. So I'm in 21-22 right now. Let's say that I have a quarterly meeting with Williette. Something has come up, a new project that really does need to be completed. It's something big that's going to affect my position and Cleve's position and, you know, several different people over here in academic affairs. It really needs to be a part of my unit plan. So I need to add it in 21-22. When I click on the blue Add Plan Item button, when you guys click on it, you are not going to see this old stuff. You are going to see these 3 bottom items. You're going to see a 21-22 form, a 22-23 form, and a budget request. So at this point, you have to be very careful and ask yourself, first of all, what am I doing? And make sure that the year that is here is the year that you are choosing to add a new unit plan item. You go in, you make changes, you add whatever you want, and it will show up on this list. I will say this though, if you just happen to click into a form because you're looking at it, but then you don't actually enter anything, even if you hit back, it is still going to save it. It's going to save a blank form. That's fine. That's a part of that autosave feature. So you get the convenience of the autosave, but because of that, if you just click in here and you don't type anything, it's still going to save something. So just as a heads up, if that happens to you and you say, where did that blank form come? I don't need that. You can always just scroll down to the bottom and there is a delete button here for you to use. But be very careful with the delete button. Make sure it's something you actually want to delete. So yeah, that's a quick overview of 21-22. If there are any questions, let me know. If not, I'll move on to 22-23. I'm going to take a look at the chat just to make sure I hadn't missed something. Oh, okay. So let's talk about the new year. So there are some important dates that I want to bring up here for us. So from March 28th until April 7th, deans and directors are going to you're going to meet with your supervisor to talk about your unit plan objectives going forward and what budget items you may need to include in Compliance Assist. So your unit plans and your budget requests, everything needs to be entered into Compliance Assist by April the 7th. So if prior to April 7th, you're having problems or questions about, troubleshooting with the system itself, please reach out to me and we can meet together. We can do sort of a one-on-one training, either in person or on Zoom. And of course, for those sort of late night questions you may have, this video is going to be posted on YouTube later today. So if there is one of your colleagues who couldn't make it, or even if there's someone you want to share this with, I'll be sure to get that video link out to you later today. So I'm going to go ahead and pretend that I am adding a unit plan objective that is due on April 7th, so you guys can see what it looks like. First of all, I choose the year. I'm already on unit plans, but just in case. And then I will manipulate this org chart to see where my office is. Now, I will say this, depending on your level of access, this org chart may look different. Some people may see a whole lot of stuff here that they need to click through. You may not. It just sort of depends on what your access is. So in my case, I'm going to, of course, click on Academic Affairs and click on Grants Office. So you can see I'm in 22-23. I haven't done my unit plan yet, so that's why I'm not seeing anything. I'm going to add a blank form, and we'll go through this updated unit plan form because there are some things that have been added, have done away with, and things that are in a different order than they normally are. So I want you to tune in to these different fields here. It's pretty much the same data we've been asking for, just a few changes. So of course, as always, your date is going to be auto-populated, which is great because this is yet again another chance for you to make sure that you're in the right year. We're asking for you to put your name. Previously, that may not have been the case. At one time, way back when, in the 12 to 17, we had you put email addresses. We ended up not really using them because we just print out the reports into Word or into Excel, and then we would send them out that way. So we eliminated the email address because it was unnecessary. And then you're going to tie your work, this specific objective, by choosing one of these outcomes on this list. We're going to create sort of a relationship. So whichever goal your work is tied to, that will be done by choosing sort of this overarching idea from one of these outcomes, what it is you're supporting. And so this is going to be, for some of you, you may stop and question yourself. Well, this objective, even though I might work in student services, this objective maybe isn't tied directly to that. If you remember back to the previous strategic plans, they really were, those outcome statements were sort of assigned to a division. So there were certain outcomes that were assigned to Kim and certain ones that would have been assigned to Faith. That is gone now. Whatever it is your objective truly ties to, you have the option to relate it to. So when you choose something on this list, then I'm able to go in the background and create a relationship. So all you're really doing is identifying it on this dropdown. Next, you're going to give a short name to the objective. So this is something we're talking like under 60 characters here, which will just be a quick reminder as you and your supervisor are discussing your unit plans. It will remind you whatever it is that you're talking about here. Then you get the opportunity to put in a statement of objective. So if you'll remember back to convocation, the last time we talked about the strategic plan, you guys made absolutely sure last year that all of your unit plan objectives were two things: measurable and time-bound. By X date, this will be completed. And there was some, in most cases, there was some sort of number tied to it. It could be a number of students. It could be amount of money. Whatever it was, you need to double check, and your supervisor will support you in this work, that your objectives are measurable and time-bound, that they're not nebulous. Well, I'm going to, make sure that all of my, grant reports are turned in on time. But that's not specific. That's just a sort of broad statement. Try to make sure that you assign dates and measures to this. Then you are given the opportunity, if you need it, and you should, because it's got to be measurable and time-bound, you have both a number and a percent here to put in numbers that relate and sort of give further explanation to what you put in here. You're also provided with this optional measurement of success field, and we've put a question here to make it even easier for you to be more descriptive. What actions or activities will your unit undertake to achieve success. So, if you've got others who you're working with, whatever it may be, you can put that extra detail here at the top. Now, if you'll remember, before, these were in a different order. Previously, we had the baseline numbers first, and then the measurement of success, but it was a bit out of order. Since you've up here at the top, you're talking about your objective and how specific it is, we've gone ahead and provided you with those fields to continue describing what the actual objective is going to achieve. They're all together in one place on the form. Now, the rest of this is going to look very familiar. You're provided with 3 baseline fields. They're optional. Depending on what it is, you may not have a baseline. If this is, or this may be the first year you're doing this, and you may just want to put baseline will be established in 22-23. Whatever it may be, these fields are optional. Use them if you need them. And of course, a data source field. This kind of is help for you. If you actually, put in your baseline information here and you set up your, your success measurement, you may, when you log back in late in the year, around September, you may say, okay, well, where did I find that? Oh, let me put the name of the report in Informer that I found it, or whatever report or screen you may have looked at in Colleague, whatever it is, this is a good place for you to remind yourself, okay, this is where I'm going to find my data. And then, of course, we've got to get your results in. So you have matching fields that we can compare for the numbers, your numerical success metric that you said, what am I going to do? What did I actually do? And you can compare, there's a number, percent, and then explain to us what your achievement was. So this is going to be a little bit more descriptive than just, it was supposed to be an increase of 15 people. Well, I put a 15 here. Don't just write 15 people here. Tell us what happened. Tell us, if you didn't reach your goal, definitely explain what happened, what factors, happened to affect whatever, happened. So then the most important question on the form, you guys know, this is what SACS really cares about. So we want to make sure that you describe your use of results. What did you learn, and how is it going to affect what happens going forward next year? Because the whole point of this is for us to improve every year. And if we're not looking at the data and making decisions, we can't improve. So then at the very end, you can, update your progress. So throughout the year, you can just say it's ongoing. If you log in here tomorrow and put a little bit of data in, it's still ongoing. At the end of the year in September, when you enter your results, if it's something that was completed, if it was a renovation project, for instance, something that was completely done, that's fine. But you may need to extend it into another year and it would stay ongoing. Maybe it was delayed. Maybe it was canceled completely. You have some options here for progress at the bottom. But really, we're not going to worry about progress until the end of the year. That's when it really matters. So don't worry about going in here and choosing ongoing for every single one. That's not a big deal. So then once you've put in your information, you'll click done and my form appears here. So let's talk about budget requests. If there is something in one of your unit plan objectives that is above and beyond, this is on top of your normal operating budget, something that supports what's going on in your unit that you may need grant money for, or it's just something you don't normally do that's in there, then you need to put in a budget request for it. You're going to click on that plan item blue button again and choose budget request. The form is the same as it has always been. All of the fields are the same. You'll describe what it is you want to purchase and why you want to purchase it, and then put in an amount. It will auto-populate the current year. You choose a category: equipment, personnel, renovation, IT, or other. If there is professional development, for instance, that would go in the other category. And then it's going to be pending until, the VPs, they look at everything, they make a decision about what they want to fund, then they give that information to me, and I actually log in, and I will put in all caps. After you've put in your description here, I'll come back in once things are approved, and I will put charge to Perkins, for instance, and then mark it as approved here. And then at that point, if you log back in, you can see, oh, well, I know where it needs to go. And then that'll help, get the correct number there on your PO, the correct purchase order number. So.
Hey, Leah, this is Kim. Can I say one thing about this budget request?
Definitely.
And I think you said this, but I just want to make sure. If there's anything that you need or are requesting that requires funding that's outside of that operational budget, this is the place where we ask you to make that request. So, if you're even requesting to replace a piece of equipment just because it's obsolete, you may not normally would have had a unit plan item for that, but this is where you're going to have to create something to make that request. Don't just think that, oh, there's no unit plan for it, so this isn't where I asked for that. That's all I wanted to just say, Leah.
Definitely. Because otherwise, when, the president's staff is doing their budget planning and the review, there would be nowhere else for them to see it except for here. So thank you, Kim. Any other comments or questions? Okay. So I'm going to talk really quickly about reports. For many of you, especially not so much right now as you're creating 22, 23, but when you get to the point that you're starting to put in results for 21, 22, a report is going to be really valuable for you, because you certainly don't want to have to open up every form and hit print and go back. So I want to show you where the reports are. So I'm currently on my department. If you click over to this second tab where it says reports, there's a lot of stuff available here, but the stuff that is available, we still need. So what you're looking for here is the correct date range. And you can see that this third report is 21-22. So what you're going to do is, once you've found the right report that you're running, you're going to click this little drop down arrow next to the year, and that will let you choose how you want to see the report, either in Word or in Excel. So in this case, if I just went ahead, and if you click View Report, it's just going to show it in the window here. So depending on, if you're sharing it with someone or not, that'll help you decide kind of how you want to export it. But it will show your unit plan objectives and your budget requests all together, so that you can, a lot of people print it out and actually start just like handwriting and making notes first and sort of have it figured out before they then log into Compliance Assist and kind of enter it all at once. Or you can just sort of do them along, just log in and enter as you go. Whatever sort of workflow is best for you is fine. That is actually much more possible now because of the autosave feature. Before, I would not have told you to do that. I would have said you need to print it all out and figure it out before you log in. But now it is much more easy to make sure you don't lose anything. And so then at this point, then you just print out your report, and you have all of your unit plans in a nice, concise fashion. Alrighty. So I know that was a lot pretty quick, but I want to be sure, of course we'll send it out in an email, but I do want you to grab that PDF that is in the chat while you have the opportunity, and just, save it on your desktop, so that way as we move into April and you're working on getting things in, it just may be a quick guide to help you remember. But yeah, the best advice I can give you is start at the top and just work your way down and make sure that you are in the right year. Any other questions and comments? Dr. Tobin?
Yeah, thanks, Lee. Let me just make a couple of quick comments. There's some lessons learned, I think, with this first iteration. And one of the lessons learned was that supervisors should not have like 50 unit plan items, right? The point, and I started talking to my staff about purpose. So beginning to think, why are we doing this thing that we're doing? And I think the first piece of purpose with this is that we're trying to connect departments and divisions back to the mission of the college, or certainly the goals and outcomes that we are expecting. And the second one, maybe even more importantly to that, is we're trying to narrow the focus. Well, narrow the primary focus. Like, these are the primary things that we think we can do to improve the outcomes of our department or division or the students that we serve. I mean, that really is the essence of that. And the third piece is that we are able to assess whether or not the things that we are attempting to do are having some kind of impact. And if they are, great, we'll continue to do those things. If they aren't, let's figure out what it is we need to do to make some adjustments. So the unit plan is an annual kind of global, over the course of the year, we expect to do these things. I think where we fell short, and I think maybe I wasn't clear on the directions, that the quarterly meetings with the individual employees is sort of a check-in. Like, in some cases, there's quarterly progress that says I was able to do this thing, or there's quarterly progress to say I'm on the right track, things are moving forward. And then thirdly, I either need help because I'm not able to do what it was I thought that I was going to be assigned to do. So in my mind, the unit plan has 3 to 5 things that you want to accomplish as a department or division. And then subsequent to that, your performance evaluation, either your role as a supervisor or as an employee or as a faculty member or a staff, would incorporate the things that you'll do in that role or in your role as a supervisor. Right? The goal is that we got 3 to 5 things that we're going to accomplish this year in campus police department. Right? It might be we're going to reduce crime to 0 on campus, and I'm spitballing here, or we're going to reduce traffic flow during peak times, whatever those things are. And then the responsibility for Jermaine and his folks is to determine what it is that what role we play in making sure that those things are accomplished. So nobody should have 20 things in their plan, but they're going to be subsets of that spread out throughout the course of the department or division to ensure that we are doing our best to get there. We hope to achieve, but in most cases, we got things in place that demonstrate, yes, we're working toward this collectively. Does that make sense? Yes? Anybody? Anybody disagree? Not understand? Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Tobin.
Not 20, 3 to 5.
3 to 5.
Primary. Although we know that there's secondary things that will occur. Like, I'll use Mike, for example. Mike, we know that once you get your students in the program, they are likely to persist and graduate. So there may be some things you focus on to make sure that that continues to happen. But at the same time, your focus may be on trying to figure out how you can create new ways to get new students in the machine tool.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay. So if there are any final questions, I'm going to hang out for a few minutes, and so I can answer things in the chat. If this meeting was completely overwhelming and you need some one-on-one time, that is totally fine. please reach out to me via phone or email, and we can set up a time to chat. And, you know, even if you have one or two sort of tests, the best way to really learn how to use the system is not to be afraid and just to get in and play around and put in some test objectives. And then as questions come up, I can help. So thank you guys so much. And I will be in touch later. I know that I had put in the email that I sent out earlier in the week that our college-wide assessment day is coming up on the 24th. I have sort of left it to the VPs who are going to give me a little bit more guidance about what actually is going to happen that day. Of course, there are some great opportunities for us to talk about how we can be better at assessment and continue to do the work that we need to do as we prepare for our 10-year reaffirmation, which is coming up in 2025 is when the report is due, March 15th, 2025, and then we will be reaffirmed in 2026. So yeah, thank you guys so much. Have a great afternoon.
Happy spring break, everybody.